My name is Ron Hoke. I'm a 12-year member of the Goshen Historical Society, past president and board member, and now executive director of the society. The society itself began in 1981 in conjunction with Goshen's sesquicentennial celebration. They started in the small Gardner house down here at the end of South Main Street and had no real home at that time. Over the years, they have grown and developed, largely due to the many members of our society that serve as volunteers. 4 of those members have served since 1981 or through 1985 and have recently, last year, received Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Historical Society for their work here. We rely on members and volunteers, and I can't think of a better group of 4 individuals that have spent more time and had more experience in the growth of our Historical Society Museum to present to you their background and their interests and their remembrances of the early days of our society.
Thank you, Ron Hoke, for giving us a bird's eye view of the Goshen Historical Society. It's all about volunteers. Wonderful. My name is John Bender. I've been a Goshen resident since 2018. Today is Saturday, February 10, 2024. I'm interviewing volunteers to obtain the story of the Goshen Historical Society in Goshen, Indiana. We are at the museum at 124 South Main Street, Goshen. Filmmaking students from the Goshen College's 5 Core Media program are producing the video. You've heard it said, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person. Well, let's turn that on its head. If you want to find out about the history of Goshen or contribute to it, check out the Goshen Historical Society. These volunteers have a story to tell. So, welcome, each of these 4 esteemed volunteers. We're anxious to hear your part of the story that you carry in your heads, in your hands, and your hearts. And each volunteer will introduce themselves. Start with you.
My name is Ursula Mars, and I've been a member since the very start of the Historical Society.
My name is Dale Garber, and I've been on the board since 1985 and do about everything.
I'm Earlene Nofziger. I was not here at the very beginning, but soon after. I was chairman for over 20 years and have a lot to tell you about the museum.
I'm John Hertzler. I've been a volunteer for 26 years, ever since we moved into the Adams store. Early on, I helped with the purchase of our first server, computers, copiers, scanners, and the necessary software to more professionally operate our museum. Later on, I was office manager and currently spend most of my volunteer time photographing and scanning objects that have been accessioned. Oh, and most important, thinking up crazy ideas that may or may not be appreciated by the rest of us.
I hear laughter in these. Who had the idea for the formation of the society?
It happened during the sesquicentennial. I can't really tell you who the person was specifically, but it was the board of that committee that decided that there had to be some way to incorporate the past history of Goshen into the current time of the sesquicentennial and to continue it into the future.
What motivated you to get on board, each of you?
I just thought it was interesting. There was nothing around. We moved to Goshen, so we're not natives here, and there was really no place to find out much of anything about the town, and that's why I became involved in doing something about keeping the history.
I was born and raised in Goshen, and I've always been interested in what's going on here. So it was kind of a natural move into volunteering.
I am not. I'm an import. I'm from Ohio originally. I'm an educator by profession, and so I've always been fascinated with preservation and restoration. So it's sort of a natural thing for me.
I come on the board in 1985, asked by the president, and basically I've lived in Goshen all my life, and I've been doing history all my life. And I just love researching, going to auctions, things like that.
You've taken us into the second question. Where did the artifacts come from initially, and where do they come from today?
Being on the collection committee, we can go way back. The Sesquicentennial Committee, they had a house that was the Gardner house that was right beside Wreath Roar and Eric, is no longer there. But they had gathered some artifacts for in that house during the Sesquicentennial. After that was over, some people took their things back, some did not. Now what do we do? So that's sort of where it started. Now everything we have is, almost everything, I should clarify that, almost everything we have has been donated. We have a few items that people have given us money to purchase something that we needed that we could not find. So, and right now, there's shelves back there, there's still a lot of work to be done. The people have brought in things.
Might say one of the few items we have purchased is right here is a wooden hand pump that was made here in Goshen in 1890. It's brand new. Writing and everything is just about perfect on it.
Let's jump ahead just a little bit. People can get a view of Goshen's history right here in the museum. And you say there's much to be accessioned.
Oh yeah, we're always working
that.
that. Plus the fact is, when we started, we took everything that people brought. Okay, we have to limit that. So everything now has to be made in Goshen, about a person in Goshen, a factory in Goshen.
And John, your work with photos and that catalog, pictures of Goshen, say something about that.
Well, the things that we accession, for example, that old pump, it's in our Past Perfect software program, but I'll take a picture of that, and that's attached to the file, so you don't have to come to the museum to see that. But we can also, if somebody comes in and sees that and says, "Oh, I'd love a picture of that," we can go to Past Perfect and print from the file.
Can they find it on the web, on your website? Not yet?
That's something we need to work on. Yeah.
But if you look at that carefully, you'll find a number on that. Now, I can't tell you for this minute exactly where it is, but if it's been accessioned, it has a number, and then John puts the picture with it, so we have a good...
It can be found.
Can be found.
So it's not just an accumulation of stuff in a box.
Correct.
It's here to see, and
Some of it you can touch, some of it you cannot.
and large enough type that you can read.
Hopefully.
Wow. And all of this happened because of your interest, your continuation of getting the story told as volunteers. That's a wow moment. Your work, you've gone through newspapers.
Right, I still am.
He does.
Back in the 1990s, before we had a museum, we used to get a lot of inquiries from outside Indiana on people that bought maybe a wagon or a U.S. mail, a truck that's horse-pulled, and they want information on that because they have one, they want to restore it. And that's really, we did that for a long time. Now that we get more coming to the museum than that.
What have been some of the milestones in the time since the museum came into being?
After sesquicentennial and after things from the Gardner house that was left were put in the basement of the now annex. City annex. And they were there for a while. Then we had the opportunity to put them Main Street. In the front of the building was face of the city offices, and we had the back of the building. So we were able to bring those over. I don't know the address. It's right beside what Evans grocery store used to be right here, which is now the co-op, the building right there. Okay, then the owner of that building had other plans for that building. So we had to move everything again. And so it was moved to upstairs, what was Troyer's studio. And that's where it stayed until it came here. Okay. Now, do you want to know how we got this building?
Please.
Help fill me in if I don't remember it all. Okay, the thing is...
What is this building?
This is the Adams store. Tell that to kids and you know what they think. It's the Adams store, you know, the TV Adams. Anyway, one of our members was a Quanian, and he met one of the other, the word I was trying to come up with, it's not executor because Polly was still alive. Guardianship, whatever. Anyway, he was also at that meeting, and the name was Keith Mast. He was no longer with us, but he came back to our board and said, I heard today that the Adams store is going to be for sale. Okay. Are we interested? Well, before that, we had a survey, and we still have a copy of the survey that we took to churches, to other civic organizations, to our members, and that said, what do you want the Historical Society to do or be? We were hoping that it would say they want a museum. And we got a little bit the cart before the horse because the building became available. But in November or December of 1997, they had a sale in this building. And everything that was not on the wall was for sale at that building. Then later they had an auction. Anyway, we found that most of the stuff that was here, Polly still had the handwritten price tags. I mean, something might still said 25 cents on it.
Yeah, a lot of it was from the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah, bow ties and long johns.
Pajamas.
You know, all that kind of stuff. It went for that price. But then the main thing is the showcases, and that was for the auction. Anyway, we do have all that information. And the night after, we found out we had put a bid in on the building, and we found out that the building was going to be ours. Then you got to figure out how to pay for it, right? Anyway, we had champagne that night. I was ready for that, hoping that would be. So some of the people in this picture are some of the same people that are sitting here. So by 1997, or beginning of 1998, is when we started, and we got a grant to do a feasibility study of the building. What does it need to bring it up to code? That kind of stuff. Dale can help you with a lot of that information. So it took us a while before we really were able to open. But here we are.
Cart before the horse. Now, how did the money come? A Brinks truck?
Well, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. Well, a couple of us bought the building, and then we found the money. Your state of Indiana Historical Society has a revolving loan, and they helped us then pay us back, and then we had to pay them back at a very low interest rate. And if you look around in the museum, on the drawers, well, look right over there behind Ursula. On that door, you see that little plaque? That means somebody, whoever's name is on there, paid so much to get their name on there. And so that was another way.
at the auction, a lot of the showcases sold for about double what we originally thought. And we had originally $5,000 budget. Well, we spent about $10,000 that night at the auction, and we had to get money. So on most of the showcases, if it cost $1,000, that's what the name on there, that's what they paid to have their name on there.
Hey, we still have a few drawers left. $50, John.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. So you had some hurdles to overcome, and you didn't stumble over them. What are some of the surprises or insights or aha moments that were part of that time?
Well, one of the worst ones, we had the furnace fixed out. It was a coal furnace that converted to oil. We had it inspected and everything passed. And it probably wasn't 2 weeks later, it malfunctioned, and this building was just black inside from soot. So right there, we decided the first thing we're doing was getting a new furnace put in. And we had two 500-gallon oil tanks in the basement, had to get them out. And we had a long time of cleaning the soot off, because you have us clean a spot, and then you clean it again, and it'd be just as dirty the second time as it was the first time.
Also, Dale, what about the basement floor?
Oh, yeah. The basement floor was old-time cement. You just hit it and it would break up. But we thought the basement was dry. And I was down there one night when it was raining outside, and all of a sudden this water come right through the cement and flooded the basement. And so I broke up where it was coming through and found out that the tile wastewater that ran from the back to Main Street was all broke. So that was another project we had to rip out right away and then put in new plastic pipes to keep the water and the waste out.
So those weren't moments, those were
Yeah.
And we had a number of those, oh my goodness.
Another thing we did out back, it's gone today, but originally Polly had a car port for her Cadillac car. And that was another thing we took down right away, because it didn't fit nothing. It was cement slabs with 6-inch posts with a fiberglass roof leaning and fastened to the next building over. And we got rid of that real quick.
The other thing, remember when we walked in here? Even all of those windows, Polly must have found a bargain on green paint. Mm-hmm. Everything was not a dark green.
A lovely green.
A lovely green. Thank you. Anyway, I mean, even the windows, everything was green.
Well, part of the green on the outside, though, was because of the copper. Over time, changes color.
So all the corners.
And the other thing, there's nothing code in this building. They had a 60-watt system here for electric. As you walked from the front door, you would turn lights on and off as you went back, because the electrical couldn't handle it. So
Don't try sweeping the floor either with a vacuum, with the lights on. Didn't work.
So you have made major changes, upgrading electric.
basically, it was approximately 3 years to get it where we could open up, to get everything up to code.
That we could pass inspection.
And you're continuing to innovate. What is the latest innovation?
You want to go, John?
Well, we're the second floor has 2 apartments in it that haven't been lived in for a number of years, and we're wanting to open up the second floor and use the first apartment as a representative of downtown living of 50 years ago.
Like a sitting room type of look.
But how do we get up there? We've got this steep staircase that even young people have a hard time climbing up. So we decided we're going to put in an elevator. And so we have a major capital campaign, and we're now in the middle of installing an elevator from the basement to the first floor, to the second floor, so people can have access to the building. And this is happening at an interesting time because I think we've done almost all we can to make this a living museum without using the second floor. And so we're looking forward to this interesting piece of the new piece of what we can do for the city.
Will people also see the basement? And what would they see?
Will they see me working down there?
I was going to say, I'm not so sure about down there. We haven't
But
gone
the
there.
only thing I could see you'd really want to see in the basement is walk out underneath the sidewalks.
Where these guys
And
are
we're,
standing.
we're one of the few stores that has that underneath the sidewalks. The city's made most of them fill it in,
And we're using it.
but we're using it for storage right now. And
called
we
a
had to beef up the bracing to satisfy the city.
We originally, most downtown buildings had staircases at the sidewalk, staircases going to the basement.
And most of your stores had at least 3 businesses. Some had 4 in the basement and the first floor. And originally, if you'd come into any business here in Main Street, you come through the front door, you would take at least 1 step or 2 steps up to get in the front door. Around 1900, that changed to where they called the modern front. And this building here in 1904, they lowered the floor a foot to make it level with the sidewalk out front. Now, some buildings didn't do that. There's about 10 of them that did. But others just ran a slope up to the door, which is a lot cheaper.
You ask about the basement. The basement is where we have our archives and all of our negatives and photographs. So that is not a place that will allow people just to go willy-nilly here, you know. Anyway, but it's dusty right now.
It's a work area and
It's a work
storage
area.
area, mainly.
We talked a little bit about finances. Who in the community has helped financially or otherwise? Artifact donators?
But a lot.
Too many private individuals
It's
to even
mainly
keep track of.
individuals.
I mean, it's almost impossible to think that the couples, the people, whoever, little groups that gave us support money. I mean, there's no way to point a finger at everybody. It's just been really amazing.
Even people not in the community, but maybe their parents still lived here or their
Yeah.
parents moved here. So that we have if you look at our mailing list, there's a lot of states covered.
So
Mainly membership, mainly community people, businesses, more businesses now than when we first started.
Businesses wasn't good to us when we first started.
They weren't sure they wanted a museum on Main Street.
but it brings people in. Who comes here?
School kids.
Anybody and everybody.
Oh, and a lot of out-of-town people.
Yeah,
stop
you
in.
get from out of town for either maybe Goshen College kids, their parents come here, or people are traveling through and they'll stop and see we're open and come in.
There's so many people in town during the fair that are at a loss at they have some free time and they come downtown, and
Also the RV.
the RV industry.
The RVs that have their rallies out at the fairgrounds.
Do you have an RV display?
Not really.
Not really. We don't have a whole lot. We have a very few things from the RV. Because remember, we're mainly Goshen.
Yeah.
And that has got to be small too. We just don't have room for an RV.
We can't put an RV in here.
We do have a cabinet halfway back that has a lot of RV material in it.
In what other ways do you reach out? What materials are available? How do people hear about the museum or see?
We have a website. We have a Facebook page.
We give programs.
And right, give programs. We used to do day trips, but we haven't done that lately.
Yeah.
We
Well,
have tours.
COVID has something to do with,
Yeah.
with all that.
And we have tours of the courthouse, tours of the race.
School tours. A lot
School tours.
of teachers will bring their classes in here.
And just this week, I was at the dentist office Wednesday. While I was sitting in a chair, the dentist gave me an artifact to bring in here. It's on Colonel Johnson, a Medal of Honor award winner in Civil War, that he couldn't find when he brought the paperwork in originally. So you get stuff many different ways.
But we have a website. We have a presence on Facebook and YouTube, but we don't have a good way of leading people to these sites. And so we have an urgent need for a volunteer who's good at social media. And we hope that somebody from Goshen College can come and help us.
We also have, in our gift shop, we have a lot of materials, a lot of them written by people here.
And we've published books.
We published
Got a number of books.
Yeah. Before we had a museum, we didn't really need a lot of money. And people do history and write up, like on Dean Henry's postcard book of Goshen, there's about 200 postcards in there. They would give us their manuscript, and then we'd publish it, and then we'd keep the profit from it. That's how we operated for probably about 10 years. And just about all those books there in the case is done that way.
It strikes me that you've had a vision that's propelled you forward, and support has come for that. Tell us about the police booth. Who owns it and how is it managed?
We own it.
We own it.
paid
The
a whole $1 for that
Yes.
To the city of
to
Goshen.
the city
Yes.
of Goshen.
And Ursula is responsible for,
I'm the police booth.
yeah.
I'm the one who opens. On First Friday is when the police booth is normally open during the year. And we fixed it. We cleaned it up. We made some repair. And it's a constant battle to keep the roof from leaking and keeping it so that you can actually use it, because we can't use it in the winter. It's basically just closed up and shut down starting when it gets cold. But all summer long, we open up, and Goshen's First Friday, I don't know if that's been brought up or if that's included, but that's part of, the police booth is a big part of First Friday in Goshen, because that's the one time it is open to the general public, and you can go in there and look around and be amazed as to why we have this little building sitting here. And kids especially are just absolutely amazed about the whole thing. I mean, it's cool.
Tell us why there is a police booth.
There is a police booth because of John.
Dillinger.
That's the myth.
That's
The myth.
That's the
That's the
legend.
myth.
That's the
legend.
legend.
That's what keeps people coming, because they think it had to do with Dillinger, but it didn't. He was never in Goshen.
He was dead before that was built.
Yeah. I mean, where that all started, that it has that connection with Dillinger, I don't know. But it doesn't really matter, because as long as people come and look at it, that's what we need on First Friday.
Federal government really gives the town of Goshen money to have that built for a radio station for their police department. And then they had the unemployed workers build it.
It has Indiana limes. It's built of Indiana limestone, and it's very well constructed. And we really have had very little problem as far as things going wrong with it. The roof is every once in a while a problem, but it's just something that Goshen has that nobody else has. I mean, it's certainly something that people know about and come and see. I mean, we have hundreds of people going through there on Goshen's First Friday. That's basically when it's normally open, although we do open up for school groups. If you have a class that you want to bring in for the kids to see it, I do that. I open up. But that's basically what it is. It's just a different kind of a something that Goshen has.
The other myth is the circles in the windows. They say they were for guns. They're not.
No,
They're air.
For
it's
ventilation.
just that
Yeah,
it's
ventilation.
just that it's
So-
made to look that way to
Yeah.
make you think that
Well, there
they
were
were in
banks
there
on
popping.
three corners.
Without your research and sharing, we'd be living with a myth, with inaccurate information. That's really what the Historical Society does. It gives us the insight and the rock bottom
We tell the real
data.
story.
The real story. Thank you.
Good deal.
But we enjoy the myth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
You can play on it.
Yeah. How has your work as a volunteer here over these many years enriched your life?
Oh my.
I've done a number, like all of us, we maybe started one place and ended up doing something different. So I started here, and then I followed him as the office manager. Now my job mainly is to input the information into the past perfect programming and the collection. So it is varied, and part of it is our time too, what time we have available.
A little bit of everything, except Dale. He's our researcher. Yeah. He's the one who finds out all
I
the
spend
facts.
about 3 hours every day down at the Goshen Library reading old newspapers. And anything with businesses or people, I'll clip out and put them in a folder where they go, so we sometime we ever need it, it's all there.
I wrote out a little bit of something about you.
Oh.
Can I read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Dale, of all our member volunteers, has the deepest well of knowledge about Goshen's history. For years, he has combed through early city directories and newspapers for information about downtown and adjacent businesses. All of this is found in multiple volumes. When questions are asked, Dale can go find the answers, but nobody else can easily research for answers in this large volume of material. We have been fortunate to have Goshen College nearby, with faculty reaching out to us to offer student volunteers for appropriate tasks. I was fortunate to work with a history major student that had ideas to make Dale's material more easily usable. She developed an Excel spreadsheet that users could sort by name, date of operation, types of business, and address. An interesting search example. We discovered that we had a bunch of cigar factories, all huddled together in the same range of dates and all located on the second floor of downtown businesses. The spreadsheet has been most useful as people ask about downtown buildings and the building use over the years. And it's an interesting document, and it's easy for us to use. So thank you, Dale.
I enjoyed it.
What are your hopes and dreams for the Goshen Historical Society?
Well, we've started an endowment to help with finances through the Elkhart County Community Foundation, so that I think some of the things that we have done is not going to be lost in a continuation. It's one thing.
Well, one of my hopes is that we can grow financially enough to afford to hire professional staff. We as volunteers have done an amazing job. And we have done things professionally without training. But I would look forward to having long-term, I'm approaching 90 and I won't be around very much longer. And so you won't have access to my vast knowledge.
We're all sort of in that sort of age group here.
Yeah. All of us are old.
Thanks.
Right.
Yeah. But having professional staff on board, I think, would be very helpful.
And how would a new volunteer come on board? How?
We have a form if they to fill out to what your interests might be. I will say that we do probably have a little bit of a problem in doing that because we're so used to doing everything ourselves. So to get someone new and train them, and yeah, but we do realize that some of us to do certain type of work, you have to know how to do it. So like right now, I'm training someone as my backup, so that we have people. I don't know about you guys. Do you have somebody to back you up, Dale? No.
And you guys have been bugging me to
Right.
write out instructions on what I do, and I resist doing that.
I know, and you can't, so yes, we do need volunteers. I mean, but we've got, yeah.
What's the key for you getting along with each other?
Well, one of the benefits, you asked earlier, the benefits of being here, one of my benefits is learning to know people outside my normal circle of friends. And Ursula, I'd never know you unless...
No, and we're non-judgmental, basically. We kind of take things as they come. I mean, most everybody is willing to accept people's differences and how they feel or think differently from everybody else. I mean, all four of us, we're just completely different backgrounds, different everything. And we're friends, basically. We get along very well. And
Basically, I think that goes with all the directors.
yeah.
It's they all work.
And even people, when new people come in, like Danae coming in, and we seem to be able to incorporate new people. And I guess that's to our credit, that somebody can come in here and more or less take over and be a boss kind of a person. And we get along. We manage to like each other, I think.
What would you be doing if you weren't a volunteer here?
Well, I volunteer at the hospital too. I'm kind of a basic volunteer, I guess. I like it, that's all.
I'd go to auctions and flea markets, 3 or 4 different states. And I've done that all my life.
Well, the thing is I expanded, and part of it is due to this. I was on the facade grant committee since it started until just last year. So, you find things even within here that you can expand.
Yeah, find your little niche.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you would care to add?
Come visit us.
Yeah.
Well,
And we're always willing to talk.
yeah. Give us
This
an
is
idea
true.
of how many people have come into the museum the last month.
I don't know, but last year or 23, we had 950 people more than we did the year before, and I don't remember what the exact number was.
It does bother me that when someone says, "There's a museum downtown?" Yes, there is a museum downtown, and part of that is us, that we need to make sure we are known. I mean, even though it says it on the awning outside.
We don't do enough what people consider advertising in the newspaper, in magazines, and on the radio, on TV. We don't do that very well, basically. We don't put ourselves out there. We just kind of figure, well,
We're trying to get a little bit more.
if they're wandering up and down Main Street, they'll find us. But
We do advertise 4 programs a year out at the Greencroft Senior Center, which is pretty well attended. We can get 100 or more people at a program when we do put one. And March 26th, We'll be doing the one on the tornado of 1942. It hit Goshen, jumped over Goshen College, hit 10th and 11th Street pretty bad. And there
So
was
there was a
people
tornado
died.
before the one that most people know about.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, each of you, for sharing not just this Saturday afternoon, but your life at the Goshen Historical Society. It's been significant, wonderful what you're doing, and your interest in its perpetuity. And your phrase, come and see us, come and visit us, is right on. Thank you.